The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
There was a man who came to Jesus and asked, "Master, what good deed must I do to possess eternal life?" Jesus said to him, "Why do you ask me about what is good? There is one alone who is good. But if you wish to enter into eternal life, keep the commandments." He said, "Which?" "These," Jesus replied, "You must not kill. You must not commit adultery. You must not bring false witness. Honor your father and your mother. And you must love your neighbor as yourself." The young man said to him, "I have kept all these. What more do I need to do?" Jesus said, "If you wish to be perfect, go and sell what you own and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." But when the young man heard these words, he went away sad, for he was a man of great wealth. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
My dear brothers and sisters, we have today in the Gospel Matthew's version of the story of the rich young man. And this is really enthusiastic about making it to heaven. This is what everybody should have, that urgency, and we're all working so hard to get to heaven, not to miss heaven or to live this life, and in the end, we don't make it. So this man comes to Jesus and he asks the question, "What must I do to have eternal life?" I just want you to note that Jesus gave him just part of the commandments. The commandments are 10 in number, and the first 3 are about love of God. You must love the Lord your God. Thou shalt have no God except me. You must not keep the name of the Lord in vain, and then you must keep holy the Sabbath day. So those 3 are precisely for God. But you must see that when Jesus talks to him about the commandments, he does not mention any to do with God. He mentions about care for neighbor, you must honor your father and your mother, you must not commit adultery, you must not bear false witness, you must not kill, you must not lie, and all those things about love for neighbor. So when he said, "What more must I do?" So Jesus brings the challenge that he had already brought up in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 6, verse 24, when he says, "You cannot serve both God and wealth." And he says this would become an obstacle to him. And he says there is just one more thing you have to do. There's one more thing you have to do. That's what the Psalm of today says. Do not forget the God who created you. You forget the God who fathered you. In other words, you must not forget the God who created you and pay your attention on the wealth. So the wealth has become your father. In Matthew's Gospel, he talks about you must not serve both God and mammon. And mammon can mean wealth, it can mean riches, but all about it is that we get so attached to whatever thing we have acquired as a source of blessing for us. Whatever thing we've received as blessing, when we turn those blessings into God's, and then we forget the God who fathered us, the God himself. And this is the difficulty with this rich young man. He does every other thing. But once we don't cross that obstacle, then whatever thing we do, we are doing for ourselves. Whatever thing we do is love of self, is trying to preserve the self. So I do not want to kill just because I want to make it to heaven. So it's just about me. Jesus tells him, one more thing you have to do, you must get detached in order to be attached to me. You must be free from in order to be free for. You have to be free from every other thing so that you will be free for me. And this every other thing does not just particularly mean wealth. That's what people, we get blessed by getting wealth. But Once we become so attached to it that nothing again is going to matter unless we get that thing, we get the wealth, then there is a problem. If we have to do every other thing in order to get money, there is a problem. There is a little girl, I think I met with doctor in the hospital recently, because of this little premature girl who was born and he had an eye defect. And they had to do this immediate, what do they call it? Laser treatment or something like that. And the family was very poor, but they managed to get some little money from well-wishers. And immediately they got this money because they needed this very urgently. Then the mother was scammed. And all the money was gone. So I saw that and I had to intervene. I don't know this family, but I managed to intervene. And we did it, and it was done urgently, and thank God the child is in good condition now. But then, recently now, they had discharged the child from the hospital. But then they had to get a notary, what do they call it, promissory note in order to let the child out, and then somebody to say, okay, we're going to pay the bills, but I'm going to write this note, a kind of a recommendation that they could go out, and then they will pay later slowly. So they've had a problem trying to find somebody to do that because it's difficult. If the person does not pay, then they have to come after you. So we've been trying to look after that. And I was trying yesterday to talk to some people to see what is the possibility of that being done. But then I got a very shocking message, really. Like, there are some of the doctors who can really do everything possible just to get money. And I happened to find a family who lost their father because really of the carelessness of the doctor who was treating him. First of all, he had a kind of laser on his eyes that made him really permanently blind. And then he got another doctor who gave him a lot of medicine that was not necessary, that really destroyed his liver and everything. And I realized that this family is still a bit very angry with all that happens to them, because the concern was not about saving life, but about getting money. Trying to get money as much as you can. Therefore, prescribe as many drugs as you can so that they can bring more money. Do everything for the sake of getting it. We are talking about some young doctors who have projects in mind. Once I become a doctor, I want to build a big house, I want to travel, I want to do. So how do they get that? Okay, just prescribe drugs that are not necessary and let people die. It doesn't matter if people die, so far as I reach that aim that I want, the plans that I have in my mind, that is fine. This is what Jesus wants about, that we must be able to prioritize Him in everything. It's not about money, it's not about what we acquire, it's not about what we feel is our dream, that we must get there. That will become our God. And this is really biting the hands that fed us. My dear brothers and sisters, Jesus gives this warning to each and every one of us, and all of us know those things that we are attached to that have become an obstacle to us being true believers, of being true disciples of Christ. All of us have something. It might be your phone, it might be the things that you watch, it may be your practice, it might be all the things that we know that have become an obstacle. All of us have that. And all we have to do is to keep working towards that. Let us not live like the rich young man who left sad because he was not ready to let go. We must be ready to let go, to be free from, in order to be free for God. Let us ask God, therefore, in this Eucharistic celebration for the grace to be able to give up everything for the sake of the kingdom, for the sake of loving Him and Him alone.